Welcome to the Sonami Deep Dive by yours truly, Town. This was highly requested on TikTok, and so I'm just gonna go for it. So, let's talk Sonami, alright? So, in my TikTok, I was talking about how Sonic Boom Sonami is the best representation of Sonic and Amy's shared feelings for each other. If you've been a Sonic fan for the whole time, or even the last 15 or so years, you probably would have played Sonic Adventure 2, you would have watched Sonic X, or any of the games that came after that or around that. And in those games in the show, Amy was, and has been for a very long time, very much obsessed with Sonic, right? And Sonic being kind of annoyed by her incessant affection and adoration. And the reason why I love Sonic Boom so much is because it's a more mature depiction of that relationship. And if you think about the old mediums, the Sonic X and the Sonic Adventure 2 of it all, it's very much like when you were in elementary school and you had a crush on someone, whether you're a boy, a girl, or either, whatever. If you had a crush on somebody, usually you have a hard time expressing that. I think there's a dynamic stereotypically, and I think Amy and Sonic really represent this. Usually if a girl likes a boy, the girl has no problem showing affection, right? And also she doesn't care how she's viewed. All she knows is that she really likes this boy and she's going to tell him and she's going to show her affection. And usually young boys, they really aren't into that. They are embarrassed by that. And so we see that in Sonic and Amy a lot. But in Sonic Boom, because they are a bit older, it's different, right? The dynamic is different. And the roles are a little bit reversed, and I'm going to get into all of the examples of why that is in Sonic Boom. Even though in the older representations like Sonic X or Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic obviously cares deeply for her. He always has. They've always been really great friends, and he would do anything to protect her. But there is the fact that she is so, I would say, infatuated with him. And when you're that young, which I would peg them as Amy being 9-10 years old, and then I think canonically Sonic is 13 or 12 at that time. But in Sonic Boom, they're clearly at least 17 and up. And as they've gotten older, the tables really have turned, because now in the Sonic Boom era, Amy is way more independent, and her focus has shifted from solely being on Sonic to pouring herself into her creative passions, being the best friend that she can be to the entire team. If somebody has a birthday party or something like that, she is the one to do the planning, and that's, if you watch Sonic Boom, you really get that sense for her. Sonic kind of has not changed in his ways, he's always been this carefree, wants to be the best friend to everybody as well. But when it comes to being vulnerable emotionally, he never has really grown out of that. I think that's where the sort of conflict comes in between Sonic and Amy. And despite how they have grown through Sonic Boom and Sonic Prime and Sonic Frontiers especially, which I will reference in this TED Talk, it's really hard for him to break through that. So it's hard to watch as a longtime fan, because I want them together so badly. I am a huge Sonami fan, but the reality is that they are just so different in the way that they show feelings. Sonic does not like being vulnerable, and Amy has no problem with it. And it's good conflict, right? It's great for keeping a franchise going, keeping character relationships going. You have two characters who should, fall together and have this chemistry, and they do as friends, but they really kind of butt heads emotionally. And that's really good tension in Sonic Boom, because they keep poking at it in certain ways. And it feels like the writers are serving the fan base in a lot of ways in Sonic Boom. And so that friendship that they have and the care that they have for each other is still there, very much. But their feelings have matured into a more realistic depiction of how young adults would be acting if they've had feelings for each other for years, but they just don't know how to act on them. So Sonic has a wall up, and I'm not sure if that's ever going to change. I don't see the writers at Sega like ever breaking that down because it's such good tension. But I'm glad that we're at least seeing growth in the characters, and we really see that emotional depth in Frontiers. Amy delivers one of the coldest lines I've ever heard in a video game, definitely in the Sonic franchise. Every time I hear her give this line, it gives me chills. It is so stunning. It's a good representation of just how emotional and she views the world in a very beautiful way, and she wants the best for everyone and everything. I highly recommend playing it if you haven't. It's an incredible game, one of the best Sonic games ever, one of the best written Sonic games. The dialogue is crazy deep. The voice acting is literally deeper. Roger Craig Smith's voice is as deep as it's ever been. Amy's voice is way deeper than it's ever been, and it really speaks to the tone of the story as well. And this is literally my favorite scene in the whole game.
A love that transcended time. I believe in that power. When this is over, I want to share that love with the world, even though it may take us far apart.
I know you'll do great. I want to hear all about it when you come back.
One of the best pieces of dialogue I've ever heard in a Sonic game. And of course it's Amy, so I'm not surprised. I want to love that transcends time, and I want to share that love with the world, even though it may take us far apart. And the delivery of that line, literally, it just gives me chills every time I think about it. It just speaks to how much she feels and how much she loves. And it feels like, too, that she is perhaps trying to communicate that to Sonic in some way. Maybe that's a nod to her feelings towards him. And if that is the case, his response really does kind of rub me the wrong way. It feels like that very closed off sort of vibe. Because he's like, sounds great. Tell me about it when you get back. Now, that could be because of her state. You know, she is in a, like, sort of digital state where she's not physically there. And so maybe he's referring to that, where he's like, I want to hear more about this when we get you back. And that might be it. In a way, it kind of kills the vibe of the scene, the way that he responds. But I understand it's also a game, so they gotta hurry up. So they probably don't have time for like, oh yeah, Amy, man, you just really have a way with words. You know what I mean? But yeah, she's spitting. She's absolutely spitting in that scene. Shout out to Cindy Robinson, the voice actress for Amy. She voices Amy in Sonic Boom and Sonic Frontiers, and she's so talented. I mean, the range is crazy. But yeah, so that just kind of gives you an idea of the direction that modern Amy has gone in. You see some of that in Prime as well, with the different versions of the characters. This YouTube video unfortunately has some like Wii Shop Channel music in the background, I guess for copyright, because it is a Netflix show. The context of this scene is, this is a version of Amy that isn't Sonic's Amy, if that makes sense.
I don't know. She sounds pretty great.
Yeah, you are.
First of all, shout out to Devin Mack, who voices Sonic in Sonic Prime. One of my favorite Sonic performances ever. I love how warm his Sonic performance is. This Sonic in Sonic Prime is a lot more like open to being sweet, I guess. Not that Sonic isn't sweet usually, but in this show specifically, he's more inclined to give out, you know, compliments like that. Even though it's not Amy, he's still confidently saying like, yeah, Amy's really great. And then he winks and it's like, oh, it's one of my favorite adaptations of the characters. And all the voice actors in this show did an incredible job, especially Shannon, who voices Amy and all those other characters. But yeah, fantastic show, beautifully shot. Beautifully animated. Shadow's in it too. Shadow and Sonic have a very good dynamic in the show. I know a lot of Sonato shippers go crazy over Sonic Prime, so. But yeah, so going back to Sonic Boom, there are a lot of examples of Sonic and Amy having clear shared feelings for each other. And if you haven't seen Sonic Boom, oh my god, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. It is one of the funniest, well-paced shows I've ever seen, and as a huge Sonic fan, it's like bread and butter. This is like the bread and butter of the Sonic franchise, okay? It feels like a fan fiction in a lot of ways because of how much it serves the fans and the humor in the Sonic fandom. In regards to Amy and Sonic specifically, there are just so many moments where there's a really funny moment where Eggman and Sonic are hanging out, which is funny too. And he's like, so, bro to bro, what's going on with you and Amy? And he's just like, And moments like that happen throughout the show, and it's so funny. However, there are a lot of sweet moments that kind of fly under the radar, and I've picked out a few of them that I wanted to touch on. Or like, not even like sweet moments, but just like little tiny things that I picked up on as a Sonami shipper that I was like, oh, the writers, they snuck that in, huh? I actually got a comment on my TikTok because I sort of stated that, oh, Sonic is way more obsessed with Amy than she is with him. And I got a comment from somebody saying, Sonic is not obsessed with Amy. And here's what I'll say to that, okay? This applies to real life as well. If you have had long-standing feelings for a good friend, a best friend even, one of your best friends, and there's like a, I don't know, 100% chance that they feel the same way about you, and you're not doing anything about it, you're not taking advantage of the countless moments where it's completely safe and judgment-free to share those feelings with that person, and you can't stand the idea of her attention being taken even for a moment from you, yeah, my guy, I think you're obsessed. And we see a lot of that in Sonic Boom. We see that a lot in Sonic Boom. He is unable to admit these feelings for her because of, I don't know what, immaturity, pride. He doesn't want to be vulnerable with her, I don't know what. But there is something within him whenever a new male character shows up and she's interested in him, she's fascinated by him. Oh, Sonic loses his mind. Oh, Sonic can't stand it. The context of this scene is that this skater dude shows up out of nowhere and impresses Amy and Styx, who are the two main female characters in the cast. And Sonic notices that Amy is like, oh, he's so cool. And Sonic can't stand it. And so he starts panicking and trying to one-up this guy. Nothing's really happening between Amy and the new guy, but it's the sheer fact that she's like, wow, he's so amazing. That's all she has to say to get Sonic going.
What? He's riding a skateboard. How is that impressive?
He's just a shrew in gaudy clothes.
I got it!
You caught my burger.
Radical. Speed.
Ew.
Give me a break. I can feed people sandwiches. Watch. I'm saving the day, too.
Did you see the way he pulled down his sunglasses and winked? Oh, he's perfect. I disable all my booby traps. You never disable your booby traps. I know.
I know the writers are playing up their infatuation with him to press Sonic because it's so funny when he gets all worked up about some guy stealing his thunder, even though this guy isn't even that impressive. It's just the fact that they're reacting to him, that he is freaking out, right? So like, somebody doesn't even have to be super talented or super impressive to get him going, but if they're acting like that guy is the coolest person in the room, he can't stand it, especially when it's Amy. If it was Styx, he probably wouldn't get so worked up, but because it's Amy and Styx, girl, that's a diabolical combination.
Oh, a race around the village will prove that it isn't. Agreed. And the loser leaves town. Wait, what?
Swifty, you're the lamoid. You're 1,000 times the lamoid that Sonic is.
You know, even Amy sees through this guy, of course, because look at him. He's not that impressive. He's not nearly as impressive as Sonic is. And Amy knows that. For that one moment, she was like, ooh, maybe this guy is cool, you know? Like, it's like when the newest boy band comes out and you're in high school, right? It's like the new shiny thing in town. It doesn't always last, right? Or maybe it does if it's One Direction, probably. Just saying. But in this case, it's like, Amy isn't seriously into this guy. She just noticed him because he was new. And Sonic is like, he will literally do anything to reclaim his spot in her mind. I would say that's our primary example in Sonic Boom of how Sonic can't stand Amy, shifting her focus to another male. And I would say that for Amy, there aren't really a lot of examples of her reacting that way whenever Sonic is distracted by a pretty girl. There is one case, however, a little bit of that insecurity coming through. And it's not even her fault, to be fair. And I think it's maybe the most popular episode of Sonic Boom. I feel like I can say that because I have a TikTok about it that has over 255,000 views. And it's the episode with the twins. You sure you don't remember anything? Not even those twins? And he's like, I remember the twins all right. That episode? Yeah. One of the first times that we see Amy being like, you know? So it's more like, why are you acting so weird around these girls? Why are you letting them kind of put you under a spell? So unfortunately, I couldn't find any clips online of the twins episode, but we are going to look at the scene where they first meet Percy because it's, yeah.
Everything okay, miss? Are you? Yep, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, fastest hero in the world, purveyor of justice, righter of wrongs, eater of chili dogs.
Oh, calm down, Percy. It's just all your dreams coming true. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, I'm used to it. Just breathe slowly and tell Uncle Sonic what happened.
Uncle.
Clearly, she fell off her bike and hurt her arm.
Oh, Amy, don't be jealous because I'm paying attention to another.
Don't piss me off. Do not piss me off. She has barely said a damn word about this girl. All she said was, clearly she fell off her bike. He immediately gaslights her? Oh, don't get jealous, Amy. Shut up. Shut up. Seriously, I love you, but shut the hell up. I love you with peace and love. Sonic, you gotta shut the hell up with that. Or you're gonna piss me off. You're really gonna piss me off. I'm sorry. You are not gonna gaslight the only girl that actually gives a shit about you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that pisses me off.
Don't mind her, she kinda has a thing for me.
Again, don't piss me off, bro. I can't stand this man.
Knuckles, bring it over here. That's a boulder. I said bicycle, but I'm not angry because I know
Thank
that
God for
you're a
Knuckles.
simpleton. Thank you, Mr. Sonic.
Because you're a simpleton. Again, another thing. Now he's throwing his friend under... Sorry. Now he's throwing his friend under the bus for the sake of impressing this girl that he just met. He's like drive-buying all the people that care about him for this girl that he just met and knows nothing about.
Sorry about your scarf. I should have known I'd mess it up. I always do when I'm not under Sonic's direct supervision.
Okay, so Knuckles is clearly being a wingman. Men piss me off. Sorry. Men, don't piss me off. No wonder fanfics portray him this way. Because he's an I love him, but he is an and Knuckles, come on. Knuckles, what happened? Here's the thing. In this show, Knuckles is like a huge feminist. So what is happening in this episode? This is the worst. This was like a smear campaign for Sonic, I swear. It's okay for him to act crazy and jealous, but the moment that she's like, why are you acting so weird towards this girl? Like, just because she's, what, pretty? You don't know her intentions. It's so disappointing to see. And that's where his biggest flaw comes in, I think. I'll always love Sonic. But when it comes to the way that he treats women, I think that's another conversation to have. I don't know. I can't help but feel bad for Amy because, like, despite how hurt she probably feels and how weirded out she feels, she's still trying to be helpful. And of course, you know, I'm sure she wants to be involved in case anything goes down and she wants to know about it. You know what I mean? I can relate. She's just trying to keep it straight, you know? She, in that scene especially, did nothing to warrant his gaslighting. He did it as like a defense mechanism. So weird, so hurtful. It actually, I know I seemed like I was joking, but that actually does piss me off. Amy is my girl, and I feel very protective of her, and like it's so hard, especially being that young, and the one person that you care about and love is closed off and treats it like a joke almost. I remember the twins. This kind of plays into like him being emotionally unavailable and her trying to make a gesture towards him to show that like she cares, and it could be a friend thing, but it feels a little bit more like romantic in certain ways. So the setup of this scene is that Sonic is being a delivery boy, and he's got a ton of deliveries to do.
And the old for two? For Amy Rose? brought the food for you and Mike the Ox, Leroy the Turtle, Lady Goat. I mean, not that I care who you have lunch with. I mean, it's not like you and I.
It's for you, Sonic. I thought you'd like a break from work.
Oh, okay, sure. But I only have a minute. Well, this has been fun. Gotta go. Bye.
He sees the candles lit on the table, right? He sees that there's clearly like she's set up for a date, right? And his initial reaction is, oh, I brought your food for you and this guy or this woman. And she's like, no, it's for you. And he's like, oh, okay, well, cool. And he just quickly eats and runs off. And like, I know he's busy. He's doing deliveries. But she went to so much effort to do this for him. I know it's like part of the bit, the Sonami bit, right? That he's afraid of being vulnerable. He's afraid of sharing feelings with people, especially with her. And it's just like, damn, she, like, despite all that, she continues to make an effort. And I think that it's because she cares for him deeply, and she sees that he's working hard and wants to reward him with a nice ambiance for lunch, right? It's so thoughtful of her, and I don't know, it just sucks. Pivoting from that, I wanted to show a few, like, kind of, like, intimate moments that they put in the show that make me kick my feet. We don't want to harp on a drab vibe. That's not why we consume Sonami media, right? We come to this place for magic, and so I'm gonna show it to you guys. There's a lot of moments where he refers to her as Ames, which is just so cute. He'll be like, hey Ames, where are you going, Ames? And that's very endearing and very sweet. And that's what makes it so weird to watch the twins episode, because like he really does care for her deeply, and he obviously loves her. He's obviously in love with her. Just something within him, he just cannot break that wall down, and it's so frustrating. See, they're like having a picnic together.
Just in case egg salad wasn't enough of a mood killer.
With no context, they're just like having a cute little picnic together, and it's like, okay, like sure. Like they could be having a picnic with any character, and they're having a picnic with each other. I don't know. I saw that and I was like, ooh, okay, cute. And I find that there's a lot of moments like that in Sonic Boom where the scene will start and they're just hanging out together, very close, I might add. So that was really cute. Oh, also, just in terms of the writers nodding to the Sonami canon within the fandom, there is an episode straight up about a fanfiction writer who captures Sonic and holds him hostage and forces him to read his Sonic fanfiction. There's a part where things get kind of dicey and Sonic starts panicking, and he's like, oh, why don't we let's read some more of that great fan fiction you have. Oh, let me see. Ooh, Sonami, spicy. It just makes me giggle, you know? There's a few like kind of sus moments in the show that just kind of fly under the radar. There's one part where he's like passed out on the ground and Eggman walks up to him and he's like, go away, Amy, I'm not in the mood. What are you talking about? What do you mean? What? Hey. Hello? Hello? What do you mean? Go away, Amy. I'm not in the mood. And I'm wondering, what is he not in the mood for while he's unconscious? This one is kind of funny, but also like, oh, okay. The context of this scene is that they're building a stage for a chili dog cook-off. Okay, so in this essay, I will. Okay, so yes, it was an accident. Nobody meant for this to happen, right? But if you're a freak like me, you're gonna pause and examine the shot, right? So I'm looking at this shot, and like I said, they fell. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it. They just fell. They fell where they fell, huh? I'm looking at the details of this shot, right? Okay, first of all, his foot is here. His leg goes under her legs, but his like, you know what I mean? And then his hand is this way. So he's got her pinned to this tree. And also, where is her hand? Where is her right hand? There it is. Oh, found it. Found her hand. Yeah. What? Excuse me? Yeah, the hand placement's crazy, personally. And then On top of that, on top of them, they kind of linger for a second in that position before she pushes him off. That's why I'm saying that, like, the roles are reversed. It's not as unrequited as it used to be because they lingered for a second and then she pushed him away, which normally wouldn't it be Sonic pushing her away? All I'm saying is I like it. I like what I'm seeing. And I want to see more of that. And he kind of looks like stunned, like, oh my God, why did I sit there for so long? You know? And also the shock of them being body to body. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine how crazy that must have been. I can't even imagine how crazy that must have been for them in Sonic Boom. Okay, so there's that. The last one I wanted to show is not as crazy as that. I have more to say. I think it makes me actually giggle and kick my feet more.
Isn't New Year's the holiday where you put on a costume and threaten to prank strangers if they don't give you candy?
That's not a holiday. It's extortion.
Let's see that in an instant replay. Let's see that in slow-mo. Hey, so here's the thing. So here's the thing, guys. When the scene starts, they're standing like this. Okay? And I know that there's probably a small minority out there who thinks Amy and Sonic, they're just friends. They just care about each other. They don't actually like have feelings. They're not into each other. But let's look at the stats. And I'll tell you guys something, okay? Where dialogue lacks, body language speaks. Okay? Although they might not explicitly tell each other that they're into each other. Exhibit A. Yeah, we'll get to the hands in a second. The first thing I want to say is, picture this. Have you ever been at a party or a social gathering where you've been talking to somebody and you're feeling them? You're feeling a vibe. You're like, man, I think I'm really into this person. I wonder if they're into me. Well, if you or them are standing like this, congratulations. They want you. Congratulations. They want you. It doesn't matter if it's you standing like Sonic or you standing like Amy. If you were Amy and you weren't into Sonic, you would not be looking that comfortable. You know? You'd be kind of like, you know, like shifting away. Based on the way that this scene is set up, they have been standing there talking like that for a while. That's how they naturally started the scene. Sonic walks up to her, I assume, stretches his arm out to lean in closer to her. And that just makes me want to throw up. And I can't help but notice Amy's hand placement. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the hands. Okay? And she didn't mean it, but she felt real comfortable doing it. Here's another thing about body language. If someone's opened up to you, they feel comfortable with you. They feel safe to be vulnerable with you. Obviously, Amy has known Sonic for a long time, so she's really comfortable with him. But this says a little bit more than just, oh, I've known you forever. And his hand, the hand that he has, you know, out, that's touching her back. They're very comfortable with each other. And it, like, but in terms of body language, this screams, oh yeah, it's there. And the writers are not being subtle about it. So one of the reasons why I love this show so much is that, yeah, you get the poking fun. They get a hard time from people like, oh, what's going on with you and Amy? Oh, you and your little girlfriend. There's plenty of that in the show. But the writers will sneak in these little moments that are so sweet and so cute. And they don't set them up. They just put them in. I think because the pacing of this show is so quick that if you aren't paying attention, because realistically this shot is so quick, like we just watched the scene, obviously I slowed it down for this, but it just shows them for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds like this, and then it cuts away back to Knuckles. There's a lot of moments like that where they're just like, here you go. But if you're not paying attention because of the speed in which the show is moving, you're going to miss it. It literally like makes my heart want to explode because it feels almost like I don't know what the right word is, but it feels almost like a love letter to the fans who love Sonic and Amy together. And they're not explicitly being like, oh yeah, like I have feelings for Amy, you know? But they're still like, they're giving us something to, I don't know, to keep going or something like that. But the other great thing about these types of moments is that despite the other times in the show where they're like, oh, you and your little girlfriend, you know, what's going on with you and Amy, blah, blah, blah. When it's moments like this, nobody is giving them a hard time. Nobody is being like, you guys are a little close, aren't you? And I just think that's so special. I don't know. I just think that's so, like, stunning. And that's why this show is my favorite Sonic thing ever. Because, like, it serves the fans so well. Especially for moments like this. A moment like this, some people wait a lifetime. For me, I've waited since I was 6 to see something. I mean, yeah, this came out like a long time ago. But stuff like this, it's just like, oh, yes. It feels like, yes. If you're standing with someone and they're leaning into you like that, whether you like it or not, that's a body language signal that they want to be close to you. And before, he couldn't get away from her. He wanted to get away from her. He needed space from her. In this show, he doesn't feel that way. They have matured, they've grown, and they like spending time together that isn't just we have to work together to save the world. They go on picnics together. They're standing by the tiki bar having a chat like they look like they're dating. I mean, it's just, it warms my heart so much. And there was another moment in the show where she straight up has a photo of Sonic in her purse and she's like, oh, it's a photo of someone that I'm platonically involved with, you know, like she even she is like, no, like we're not, no, he's just a friend. They're both being the same amount of coy about the fact that they have feelings for each other. And it's cool. It is honestly cool because, like, having grown up with Sonic, it feels like they have matured alongside with us in a way. Frontiers especially. Man, by Frontiers, they've been through so much shit. And in Frontiers, a lot of shit happens. Pardon my French. A lot of shit happens, and you can tell in the performances that these characters have been through hell. They're different. They're older. They're more mature. Their priorities are different. You know, back in the early 2000s, it was all just fighting Eggman and saving the world and being kids. And it's so freaking cool. And with the movies, we are kind of going back to that kid-like energy. But I feel like in this third movie, that's going to shift things. Because that's what happened in Sonic Adventure 2. Shadow shifted the energy in the franchise. And Shadow, especially, has been through the worst of it out of all of them. And that's why I feel like, you know, in the past, like, 5 years, they've been sort of turning a corner with the Sonic franchise where they're taking advantage of that sort of edginess of the franchise. And I think that's reflected in the main cast of characters as well. Frontiers especially, it's more like what is going on in the world. Like, things are not right, you know? This is going to be controversial. You know, despite how much I want them together, this is going to be controversial. I think Amy deserves better. You guys have no clue how obsessed I am with these two characters. And I would give anything for them to have a moment where they finally admit to each other that there is something between them and they're, in a way, destined to be together. But realistically, they are so different. And I don't think he's ever going to be emotionally mature enough for her. You know, woman to woman, I wouldn't wait around. I think all the women out there can agree. Get in or get out, bro. Get with it. We're at least 18 years old at this point. We're not children anymore. I've made it very clear that I care about you. Everybody knows how I feel about you, including you. And I know that you share those feelings. So what's it going to be, you know? So I have realistic expectations for this ship, as I think a lot of people do, especially if you grew up with Sonic. I feel like if you're in your 20s, you've grown up, you've matured, and I think it's just like I don't know, they're so different, and I just don't see it working out unless he opens up and breaks his walls down, you know, and stops being such a little shit. Again, peace and love. I love this man. But he's not giving. He's not giving emotional maturity, guys. My introduction to Sonic was Sonic Adventure 2. So my introduction was Shadow and the lore that comes with Sonic Adventure 2, which is very heavy. Arguably, Sonic Adventure 2 is the most important game in the franchise because of Shadow. And obviously, we're getting a movie about that storyline. So I would say that it is the most important game in the franchise. But so for me, like, it set me up with this, like, oh, Sonic, does that mean you'll marry me? You know, like, ooh, it just kind of got me, I don't know. I was hooked immediately into Sonami because I was just like, yeah, girl, I get it. I get it. Like, it's so cute. One more thing I wanted to touch on that's more of a modern Sonami situation. When they do those Sonic Twitter takeovers, you know, fans can ask them questions in the character voices. And there was a viral moment recently where Amy and Shadow went to a Hot Honey concert together. And when they got back and they did the next takeover, Amy was telling the chat basically about how much fun they had, how Shadow was like getting into it a little bit, and they bought t-shirts and they had the best time ever. And Sonic starts to get a little bit, you know, like he usually does, a little bit jealous. He's like, well, you know, I'm great company at a concert. And Amy is like, okay, word, let's go to one. And he's like, and she's like, okay, fine, everybody's invited. And I was like, slay queen, period. Get in or get out. That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna make a stink about her having fun with another guy, then don't speak up if you're not gonna take charge and be like, yeah, I will. Actually, I'm really great company at a concert and I'm gonna go with you to prove it to you. What a stinker. In that same compilation that I was watching, it was a different takeover, but it was the same video. Somebody asked Amy what she likes about Sonic.
Sonic is strong. He's thoughtful, intelligent, and always puts the people closest to him first. I'm a better person having met Sonic, and I mean it. Who couldn't love a hedgehog like that?
Oh, love, you say?
Like! I said like, Tails!
That's incredibly sweet. Thank you. Now, what were the rest of you saying?
Immediately just like, oh, that's really nice, Amy. Yeah, so what else do you guys have to say about me? Like, but you see, she like, it slipped out that she loves him. And like, of course she does. I mean, I think they all love each other. You know, they've been together forever. But I do think it kind of plays on that whole, like, who couldn't love him? You know? And Tails is like, ugh. And of course Tails is much younger than them. But I just thought it was funny. I love them so much, but it's just tricky because they're so different and they're always going to be. Another controversial, this is not controversial at all, but like as a Sonami shipper, I think it's a little bit controversial. I think that she and Shadow are better suited. I think she and Shadow would be a better fit. Because like, Yeah, Shadow is technically like closed off emotionally because he's been hurt, but he's also like capable of being vulnerable, I think. You know, he was able to be vulnerable with Maria, and I believe that he's able to do that again with the right person. And he and Amy are always like kind of hanging out, going to concert. They went to the Sabrina Carpenter concert together. Like, that is crazy. And why can't Sonic just like man up and go to a concert with her? He just can't have people thinking that something deeper is happening between them. That's why I think like Amy deserves better, because she deserves that. She deserves somebody who's like, yeah, I'll go to the Sabrina Carpenter concert with you. It's like, like it's just a concert, but it's so meaningful, you know? Well, guys, I think that just about does it for my Sonami deep dive. I hope you all enjoyed my thoughts and opinions on this beautiful, beautiful ship. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed.